Welcome everybody to the 10th anniversary Pintastic New England. We've had presentations from Multimorphic going back to our very first show in 2015. And we're lucky that one of the top developers for Multimorphic is resident in this area and is able to come over here pretty easily and give updates. You've seen the progress of the P3. They've had more add-in modules for their platform than all other modular platform pinball systems in all of pinball history. And they're still going strong. So now we're going to take a really deep dive into the portal with Michael Ocean.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, in fact, Pintastic is a very special show to me because it was 10 years ago where I started talking to Jerry Sullenberg about actually working on the P3 instead of just homebrew stuff. And we hung out for a long time at this show. Sure. Is that better? Okay. I can also yell, but nobody wants that. So yes, no, I do you want me to do this? And I'll angle it this way. Okay. I get an upgrade. Thank you.
Well, no, you aren't.
Ideally, I would like all of the mics.
You like all of the mics?
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
All three of them.
Yeah, just jump into now. That would be good. Yeah, so I've been working with Multimorphic for quite some time. My name is Michael Ocean. I'm a regular software developer for Multimorphic. I was co-creative director on this game, Portal, which many of you hopefully have had a chance to play. I was also on the software team for this game. This game would not exist if not for the work of a lot of people, and I'm going to credit all these people because they all also provided slides and other assets to help sort of make this show interesting. The general sort of presentation here that I have planned for us today is to just sort of briefly show what the game is today, and then show you a lot of how the game came to be. So I have a lot of behind-the-scenes photos and videos, and you can see how it came into existence. So there were three of us who were creative directors on this game. Ian Harrower, who you may know as a tournament player, or from his P3 games that he's made as a third-party developer before joining Multimorphic. He made Blood Bank Billiards and a really charming game called Birdwatcher, in which it's sort of like Pokemon Snap. It's a very Zen-like experience. Anyway, that game is great. I'm there too. And Steven Silver, who's been with Multimorphic on pretty much every single title, going back to Let's See Lightspeed. Whoops, excuse me. Artwork, this was our first game working with Brad Albright, who's done a truly tremendous job. I don't think there's a single surface of the game that's undecorated, including inside of scoops. When the faceplate goes up, you can see there's actually artwork underneath for the rare times that is up as well. So Ian and I worked on software. Ian has been a juggernaut on this game. What he's brought to the team is amazing. On graphics and animation, we have Rory Cernuda, who's been with us for a long time as well, and Stephen again. The mechanical designer, TJ Weaver, and Trey Jones. Fantastic people. Every mech that you see in previous Multimorphic games or previous P3 titles, TJ Weaver has turned those into a reality for us. Got Scott Denisi on audio. It's great to work with Scott again. He's done a great job. And the voice work in this game, we have Ellen McLean as GLaDOS, and then we also have Mark Silk as our own custom personality for Reggie. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the P3. So in a sort of range of where you're at, if you're a current owner, maybe that's a thumbs up. And if you were just looking for a place to sit down or you were hoping there would be cake, maybe that's a thumbs down. If you've been following it for a bit, maybe you're up here. It's an analog range of thumbs up to thumbs down is what I'm looking at. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, perfect. I've got some bad news about the cake. But, no, that's all right. Well, thank you very much for coming. At least it's warm in here. It very well might be. Okay, so let me briefly sort of give you just a quick overview. I think most people are familiar with the P3. And I'm going to talk about in context of what I've done most recently for the platform. So I was co-creative director and software lead on Weird Al's Museum of Natural Hilarity. If you've had a chance to play that game, thank you. If you haven't had a chance to play that game, I suggest you seek it out. What it does very nicely, I think, is that it provides a really whimsical environment in which you can enjoy like a nice kinetic energy from the spiral shot, from the hamster wheel. There's a lot going on, and because it's the P3 platform, this is a game module that if you own a P3, you pull your P3 into service position 1, you pop out the module, you pop in the other module, in about 5 minutes you're then playing Weird Al. Honestly, Weird Al is fantastic for me as a big fan of Weird Al, and also it puts a smile on people's faces when they play it. It's one of those games where you actually see people enjoy the game that they're playing instead of in an intense focus and frustration. And speaking of, so there's Final Resistance, which was the game I worked on prior to this one. In earnest, I was software lead on Final Resistance, which is a Scott Danesi title. It presents as a traditional pinball game in a lot of ways, so it has the static inserts on the play field that are virtual, of course, representing, like we're used to playing. So you could just shoot flashing shots and pretty much do just fine. It's fast, it's fun, it has an amazing Scott Danesi soundtrack, which is really nice and upbeat and sort of compels you to keep playing. And the game is a good balance of mean but not so mean that when you get far enough into it and you lose, it's just got that just one more game feel, which I think is really important to have some sort of short, intense gameplay experiences. And then Princess Bride, where I was not development lead on this game, but I did provide a fair amount of support, light shows and other sort of framework things. And if people have not played the Princess Bride, there's one back in Pinball Tycoon's area. And it's deeply immersive. If you know the film, if you love the film, you're basically watching the movie on the play field and hearing the call-outs and hearing the music and hearing the audio while you shoot these shots on this very beautifully decorated play field, which again is a module, so you can swap it out, swap it in. And it gives you this experience that you're playing the movie and you're sort of transformed into this space. And look, these are just the 3 games that I worked on prior to this for Multimorphic. In reality, there were 23 games on the platform because we have an open framework in which any third-party developer can develop games. And so we have fun, strange things. We have some developers who've made some really interesting stuff. Nick Boldridge has made his own playfield module and has his own game Drain, which plays like a very it's a no ramps classic game, and there are add-on games for that. There's a lot of variety. We allow people to do things that they wouldn't usually see in pinball, which I think leads us to game 24 for the P3, which is Portal. And so if you know Portal, you're probably very excited that a Portal pinball machine exists. And if you don't know Portal, you're probably completely, you're just sort of like, okay, this is just another pinball machine and that's fine. So, in the same analog range of I've never heard of it, to I've heard of it but never played it, to I've played one or more games, to let's have a deep, intense argument about whether or not the cake actually is a lie. Where are people on Portal? Oh, okay, so I see a lot of thumbs up, which is great, which is awesome. So then I'm just going to play the trailer because what I'm going to show after we transition from the trailer and some photos is behind the scenes stuff. And I don't want anyone to think the game is not done because you're going to see some very prototypey stuff. So I'm just going to play the trailer here. And hopefully the volume is not too excessive.
Hello again. It's been a long time. I had almost given up hope of ever testing again, but I think we can put our differences behind us. For science. Federal regulations require me to warn you that this next test chamber is looking pretty good. This next test applies the principles of momentum to movement through portals.
Hi, I'm Reginald, Team Building Core. You can call me Reggie. Oh, nice shot! Well done!
You must be very, very proud. I'm building the world's smallest trophy for you.
She didn't mean that. Okay, the momentum jump is ready. Woohoo! Oh, it's party time!
Initiating surprise in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's a good one. Woohoo! Oh, that looks nice. Get ready, here it comes. It's showtime!
Press the button again.
I'm making a note here. Huge success! This is the hard light bridge. Oh, that was good. Bravo, well done, bravo.
This next test involves the Aperture Science aerial faith plate.
Wow, you're kind of good at this. Jackpot! Double jackpot! Triple jackpot!
This next test involves turrets. They're the pale spherical things that are full of bullets. Oh wait, that's you in 5 seconds.
Oh no, it's turret multi-ball! Come on, come on, come on, come on! Hit those turrets! Super jackpot! Hey, it's Edgeless Safety Cube multi-ball!
Please continue into the next test chamber.
Looks like you climbed to the top of this very tall chamber. Have I mentioned I'm not a fan of heights? No, don't worry. You'll do great. Got it! Cool lasers! No, 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 please, no! I can't look. No, 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 no! Ah!
Excellent. The Enrichment Center reminds you that bold, persistent experimentation is the hallmark of good science.
So yeah, that's Portal. I still have a smile on my face every time I watch this video, to be honest. So why Portal? What is Portal in the sort of video game lore, and what is this thing that means so much to so many of us? It's an iconic video game franchise with a really amazing story that's set within like a fully realized universe. There's Portal 1, there's Portal 2, which is a much longer game, and we are very hungry for every sort of tangential Portal experience that exists. So there's Aperture Desk Job, and if you know the theme, you want every one of these. There's the Lab, which is a VR experience. You want to spend as much time in this universe as possible, but it's a puzzle game, right? So players solve puzzles to escape chambers. I heard someone tell me recently, "Oh, it's a lot like Zelda Breath of the Wild when you're in a a shrine." Yes, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny. I guess would we have shrines if not for Portal?" Anyway, maybe that's overstated, but and the thing that makes Portal so incredible is you walk into these environments that they change and they're dynamic, right? So you walk in and there's apologies about the chamber not being set up correctly, and these hydraulic lift arms lift panels and reconfigure the chamber as you're in it. And these puzzles are physics-based, which includes real physics simulation and physically impossible physics, right? Things like the actual portals in which fast things go in and fast things come out, and slow things go in and slow things come out, and huge aerial jumps and all these other tricks. And so when we had the chance to work on this, in our mind, this is, and now officially, the Aperture Science Portable Incline Newtonian Ballistics Accuracy Learning Laboratory. And so this is what you are experiencing. Of course, we all know that calling any pinball machine portable is a bit of a joke. They're not exactly portable, but relative to being in a test chamber, it's fairly portable. And so these are fancy pictures, which I'm going to move through quickly because I want to show you the unfancy pictures. But to be honest with you, the portals are the easy part for us because we have this secret weapon in the P3, which is the mid-playfield trough. This game is loaded with 19 balls, and we can stage and launch balls from the middle of the playfield. And what that means is that when a ball goes in, we can give you another ball back immediately in a way that is almost too fast. And so when you have certain features active, the ball moves from one place to another so quickly that it's hard to track. And you actually have to watch someone else play to sort of figure it out. And you get it on a second play or a third play. And I apologize about the lines, because I know that you wait in line and you play it once, and it takes a little bit to sort of track it. But what we're able to do on the P3, because we have this benefit of having the screen, where most machines have decorated wood, is that we can change what we're showing the player, and we can help deliver the experience of Portal, which is this dynamic environment that changes as you explore the space and as you try to find your way out of this experience. And so on the left, we have the hub, which presents using final resistance style static inserts, but also these tiles. And these tiles are very accurate to the Portal universe in that when a shot moves, right, we lift ramps and lower ramps. And the lift ramps, the inserts have to go away. And so the tiles open up, and the tiles that have the inserts slide down, and new blank tiles cover them, right? I mean, we're able to do this on the screen, and it's a really great trick, right? It's a really neat trick. But then meanwhile, then you head into test chambers, and we can show you a completely different environment, like the one on the right, in which a high-energy pellet has to be directed toward the receiver on the bottom right there, or sort of the middle of the right of the play field, and you have to shoot the shots to get the panels in the right order. This one is most like a puzzle. It can be very, very intense to try to figure out the first time you played it. We also have these sort of first-person, or what we call like traveling modes, the one you see on the left, in which you have a first-person camera in the environment that sort of represents your view, and you move shots to move through the chamber. The one on the right is one of my absolute favorite chambers that we have, which is this encouragement through discouragement, where you shoot the physical spinner shot on the left, and it rotates the platform that holds the redirection cube, so that the thermal beam the discouragement beam can sort of whip around, and when it hits your flippers, it disables your flippers briefly, disables no hold. So those sorts of tricks that can really get delivered on the P3, I think are pretty rad. So, Portal Standard is the playfield module that I've been showing you photos of. We have some very sweet features like the companion cube, which gets pushed through a portal. So if you head up to the loft, which is the library of failed tests up in the top left, that's your mini playfield. If you portal a ball up there and you push the cube, you're pushing the cube through a portal, and that same companion cube rises up on the right, which enables the physical ball lock. And that's how that faith play jump lock works. There's also a momentum jump, so when you shoot around in the loft and then shoot into the portal, if you build up enough momentum, you can launch the ball and land in one of these sort of 3 landing zones here. You have the upper landing zone, which is that catwalk, the lower landing zone where you land on that button, and then of course the goo, the acid pit, if you don't have enough momentum. And then, as if throwing the ball across the air once wasn't enough, we also throw the ball across the air vertically, which is the aerial faith plate, which when it's lit is the thing that flies the ball toward the back of the play field to land on that catwalk and lock balls behind the cube. So, because that apparently wasn't enough, it wasn't, we also, for the first time, have Portal extended. So we have this extension module that goes over the lower 2/3 of the play field to bring shots closer to the player, to bring art closer to the player, to bring new mechanisms. Because this is something that people have wanted, and I think this game delivers it in a significant way. One of the things that's not obvious when you talk about having this extender is just how, it sounds silly to say because it's visual, but how beautiful the art is, that it basically brings the art so much closer to you. And so the one that's over in the free play area, or over in Pinball Tycoon's room, is the extended module, which is, it has those shots closer. It has this repulsion gel tube on the right, and in the hub, the angle you can't quite see, but you shoot the side targets, and it causes the repulsion gel to sort of move through a tube, and then it becomes loaded for a kickback. It diverts the ball into the kickback, which is basically like our second-story shooter lane, because we hadn't had the ability to divert the ball back and forth. We have this raising ramp on the right-hand side. We have this side panel over here, which is sort of the top left, where it says over here where Ratman has left us some notes. And when it's enabled, there's a hard light bridge, and you time your flip just right to sort of send the ball across the second story. It's awesome. It's really, really cool. It's a lot of fun. There's a physical spinner down there. But okay, that's fine. That's the game today. Here's the deal. To sort of help you have a look behind the panels, we had this amazing opportunity to transform an iconic first-person puzzle game into, like, with impossible physics, right? With stuff you really can't necessarily do in real life, into a fun pinball machine. And as all fun projects do, this started with meetings and spreadsheets, and even more meetings, and even more spreadsheets. And you take something very, very fun, like the Portal universe, and we build a spreadsheet of everything we love about the Portal universe. And then we rank it. So everybody adds a row, and we vote, and we argue, and we're all collegial and friendly again now, but there were moments where, I mean, this happens on every game. You know, you want to argue for the best thing, and in almost all the games, you want to argue for everything. Now, we also rank what has to be physical. We need a companion cube. We need a personality core. We need ramps to go up and down. We need physical portals, but we also want virtual portals. We want to be able to send your physical ball to a place on the screen, have it pop up and pop down, and then return to those things. The excursion beam is a very hard trick to do in real life, and the excursion beam looks beautiful when you have the assets, and so we have an excursion beam as well, but that's represented virtually. And then we had this question, which I found in, I think, our very first meeting: are we allowed to establish new lore? Can we make our own companion? Can we make our own personality core? Would that be okay? And at the time, the answer was, I don't know. I was like, we need to know that. That's the most important question. And I was like, the lab has 1 million personality cores. It has to be okay. Well, I hope it's okay. And unbelievably, we were allowed to establish our own lore. So, how do you make a puzzle game? A game that is notoriously tricky and requires you to stop and think and process the world around you into something that is a pinball machine. You have a live ball. It's very hard to solve puzzles while you have a live ball. It's hard to stop and think. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all, you know, if you own a machine, you're used to the puzzle. Like if you refurbish old machines, I've got a bunch of old Williams machines. Getting my next gen back in shape was a different kind of puzzle. But you know, when you're playing it, I mean, you know, you want to find a way to let the player, who may have a range of pinball skills, have a legitimate Portal experience without them having to stop and think, because that's, you know, enough of a flow, right? So the other thing is puzzles hinder replayability, right? Once you know the solution, it sort of limits how you approach the game a second time. And we didn't want that. And so what our balance was here was that the hub plays like an older Williams game. It's a traditional mode based where the modes are small, and you can complete, you know, a ramps objective, which is active. You can complete a loop objective, which is active. You can hit all targets. You can use all portals. There are all these sort of concurrent. One second. You can hit all these sort of things concurrently, and they stack with multi-balls. So our hope was that even if you don't start a test chamber, even if you don't start one of our more traditional modes, you can bang around in hub and have a really good time, and it would still be a very fun game. And because you can stack multi-balls on top of it, and the multi-balls stack with each other, you can complete a lot of those objectives. There's a really cool scoring thing where you complete an objective, but you don't collect the hurry up, and then you complete the next objective, and complete the next objective to extend the hurry up and increase the value of it. So that provides that experience with the dynamic nature of Portal. And then in the test chambers, you have a more puzzle-like experience where we're exploring specific elements like the game does, where we have a test chamber mostly dedicated to the discouragement theme. We have a test chamber mostly dedicated to the high energy pellet. We have a test chamber dedicated to the long fall momentum jump, to portal navigation. We have some others that we can't show you yet, but they're on the way, that are dedicated to other elements, other things you know and would expect to find in the Portal universe. I know it's weird, but I'm going to take a question in the middle of this, if that's okay. You had a question?
You answered.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, if you have a question, just interrupt me. That's fine. I would rather ask questions as they come than wait till the end, if that's all right. But I'll keep rolling.
Yeah. You're using the question mic, so we'll have to.
We'll figure it out.
You repeat it.
I'll repeat the question. Yeah, perfect. Okay, every game, concept and rules, play field, presentation, art, music and sound, call outs, light shows, choreography, it all has to get done. And there's no real correct list because almost all of these things happen concurrently, right? You need to have the script so that you can get the script to the voice actors. You need to have the rules. You need to know what the rules are before you have the script. There is some sort of happens before relationships in this, but really and truly, we're trying to do as much of this in parallel as possible. And so every P3 module starts as this blank slate, which you see on the right here. And this is the mid playfield infinity trough trick, right? So all of those holes are vertical up kickers that we have at our disposal to send a ball into play. And so from there, we narrow into which ones we actually want to use on this game. Now, what makes this game different is that we knew we wanted to do the extension module right out of the gate. We wanted to provide that too. And so in every game, we designed shot paths using the entire layout of the playfield. But on this game, we said, well, anything is possible. We should put mechs as far down as we want, and TJ will find a way to make it work, which is one of our favorite things to say. I don't know if it's one of TJ's favorite things for us to say, but it's certainly one of my favorite things to say. So these, the drawings on the left, don't think they come from an artist. Those come from me and other members of the team just drawing things and trying to figure out what things would look like. The playfield on the right, surprisingly, is fairly accurate to where the game is today. No, not really. Well, it's close. It's one of the closer ones. And you can see even in this diagram, things are different. Captive ball mech is on the left. There's a drop target, which historically everyone needs to put in your game just to cost out. There are a lot of other features too. The drop target actually didn't work for the flow of the game, so we
How long did it take to just get that?
that diagram on the right.
Yeah, any of them, really. Days or weeks?
Oh, weeks.
Weeks.
Yeah. I mean, because it's hard, right? I mean, every decision you make changes a shot path to something else, and someone's going to shoot it. You try to figure out what it's like on a prototype of sorts. But we knew right away. We knew before we did anything else. We knew that we wanted a mechanical faceplate that was going to fling the ball toward the back of the thing. And so, this is not a product placement from the Toasty Sandwich Crackers. Let me make sure that I'm muted here because I don't know what's exclaimed when I hit play. But this is an initial proof of concept test of tossing balls into this box. And, this is that's Jerry's arm. You didn't know Jerry was going to make an appearance in the presentation today, and I think neither did he. And so, this wasn't resetting properly. It's not the final version of the mech by any stretch of the imagination. This is pre-playfield. But it's really neat to see the ball get flung into that box and go, okay, we can probably do this. Now, what do we know about the Portal universe? We know that when you hit a faceplate, you sort of go flying through the air and you hang a little bit in the middle of the jump, sort of surreally. We can't do that in real life. But the other thing that happens is you strike a wall, and when you strike a wall, you somehow lose a lot of your momentum and they'll go bouncing backwards. I think the explanation there is that we, as a shell in the game, are squishy. And so when we hit the wall, we absorb the impact. But the pinball is not squishy. And so there's a mechanism in the back that absorbs that impact of C. Okay, so this is both a picture of how, if you're in the diagnostics menu, how you actually set coil strength for the mid playfield trough where the bucks are, and also it's a proof of concept of the momentum jump. So this is a very detailed playfield. And just sort of dialing in the strength to sort of get a good arc and get a good shot. And that's not what that mech looks like internally anymore either. But these are these even tricks we can do? How consistently can we launch the ball? Is it possible to get this to work? As we adjust the strength, can we get the multiple landing zones that we want? Because that's our concept for the game. And so here are some prototypes. I don't remember which prototype this is. If you've shot the game, you'll notice that, again, the captive ball is on the right and not the left. So these lanes have switched a bit. I'm sorry. Let me jump forward. The angle of the ramps is different. The shots are different. The mini playfields aren't even installed. But I hope it's interesting to see this. The sort of the area where Reggie lives And then when Reggie turns around, that turret happens to show up, but they're definitely not the same mech. Right? That thing is not fully well defined. Like right now, there's a nice area for that in the final version. If you have any questions, Ken, feel free to ask. Okay. More to come. So on the so this is that same prototype from underneath, where you can see that we're using quite a lot of the butt tubes to be able to get balls into play and out of play from a lot of different places. I really do feel like this is one of those, like, the magician's review. This is not even I'm just some small part of this team, this large team, and I feel like I'm revealing other magicians' tricks and showing all of this. But I think when you play it, the experience of shooting a ball and having it come out somewhere else, it's not always the same ball. Not to, I shouldn't say that, right? But I mean, this is the thing that makes it happen. The mini play field, the library of failed tests, which was a fun morning, afternoon. We were pitching, what should we call this thing? Well, it's up, and it's up in the left-hand corner. It can't be a tree house. It's like a loft. Oh, loft is good. Maybe it was Ian who came up with it. I don't know. It was a great sort of thing. What's loft going to stand for? It's a good time. So this is also a prototype, as you can see, in slow motion, watching the ball get thrown by the faith plate. And I think we can agree that maybe this first attempt at dampening the impact is not the most attractive thing to look at. But, it sort of controls the ball. For the right theme, it could work.
You're building an airport terminal machine. That's my luggage.
That's to keep other people from seeing the luggage, right? That's to keep people from scampering up the unloading. But yeah, let's hit the next ones. This is the momentum jump. This is the left to right jump. And you can see sort of dialing in the strength to get the upper landing zone and to try to get, I think, are there lower landing zone flings in here as well? Oh, there's slow-mo ones. Right, so you probably don't notice it bend down. I had an image of it, and I took it out of the protective hood that keeps the ball from smacking the top in case someone has an over-adjusted foil. Whoops, to-do, okay. Well, that's why prototypes are prototypes. Okay, should I? Yeah, let's keep going. Okay. So this is the cube lock, which, you lock the balls behind the cube, and the cube goes down, and they roll out. And yeah, let's talk about the playfield extension, which is hidden underneath this beautiful art on the right-hand side, but there's a fairly complex mech in there that's responsible for both lifting the ramp and for dealing with the diverter and for providing a kickback, right? This mech is really, it just looks like a repulsion gel tube, but internally, this is where all the mechanical elements are for raising and lowering the ramp. And you can't quite see it from this angle, but the diverter, because on the right return, you can either go to the inlane or it can head to the kickback. And we can store a kickback in there and let people forget about it so that later on it can be used as a portal, so that way you have a nice surprise. But now I've just told you, so maybe I've spoiled the surprise. Great. Okay. Earlier prototypes of the playfield extension had this sort of nice curve at the bottom, which I think looks appealing, but in practice ultimately draws your eye to it more. And a lot of people with the flat front fail to notice that there's even an extension there. So when the ball travels across L2 and you use the hard light bridge shot, people don't even notice it. They're very confused about what they've just seen. So the curve is nice, but it ultimately wound up being more distracting. And needless to say, art is important. That metal box on the right-hand side doesn't sell like tubes. Okay. Also Reggie. And so we knew we wanted to try to pull off having our own personality core. And early on, we had this idea: well, there's lots of small displays. There's probably something we could do here, but yet we couldn't. We wanted a turret, we wanted a physical turret, but we also wanted to have this core. And so this design lets us have the core on one side and the turret on the other. And this is a very early prototype of trying to get display working on a microcontroller with some code I had not yet optimized. And I think you would notice this. And it's also not very pretty.
That's just Wheatley's face, right?
That's just Wheatley's face, yeah. It's just Wheatley running at what feels like a frame. It's like, I think that was running at about 80 milliseconds per frame, so maybe like 10 frames per second or so. And over time, right, we got to a point where Brad was able to design for us, what Reggie looks like. We got performance up, the sculpt became real. We get the screen mounted, we get the microcontroller and screen mounted into this thing, and he's got all these different expressions. Reggie, am I doing a good job with this talk? What do you think? No, I don't think so either. That's fine. And then on the left, this is a very silly thing, but it was a very good day when I could send commands to Reggie on the P3 itself and know that things were working okay. It all has to talk. It all has to work. I'm very excited. I took the slide out the day I had flash updates working from the P3. It was like, oh, finally, we can update his firmware on the P3 itself. That doesn't sound like a huge milestone, and it doesn't make for a very exciting slide, so I'm not even clear on why I'm mentioning it now. Moving on. So, okay, this is the fun stuff. Right, this is Brad's beautiful art in trying to figure out what the game would look like. Lots and lots and lots of sketches. Brad was has been an amazing artist to work with. He attended almost every single meeting, lots of meetings where we said, this is boring, you don't have to stay, we're just talking about software. He's like, no, I want to stay. And then eventually you're talking about software, it turns out you're talking about rules. Brad's had a lot of amazing ideas, and I think his artistic ability is unquestionable. You can see here a lot of different variations of side art, a lot of different variations of back panel designs, speaker panel designs, front cabinet designs, and where truly he went above and beyond was that he took the entire playfield, the early playfield prototype in CAD, and painted every single surface in Blender, so that we could then come up with we could come up with decorations for everything because he painted the entire environment. And one of the things that really works in person, I shouldn't really call attention to it, like there's so many small details that you wouldn't even necessarily see, right? But the lift, the grates in the back, which are static, they don't move, right? That's art with shadows, such that when you look at it from the front, you could be deceived into thinking there are actually posts there. It's a really convincing effect. And yet he just every single thing. And I'm not kidding when I say underneath the faceplate, there is art. Inside the scoop, there is art, and they reflect things very, very nicely. Yeah. And then here's the topper, which Brad designed, which has these fun laser beams on them, which I know are for tracking. You would hope I would know that. But when you're in turret multi-ball and the turret is fired, we flash them, which technically isn't right, but it looks really fun. And people really like it. So it's this multi-dimensional presentation. Okay, here's the exciting stuff. Rules. We probably spent, a Word document. Wow. There's probably, I remember I had the responsibility of sort of putting all of this together into a document that we sent off to Valve. There's about 60-page write-up that explained all the different areas of the playfield, this image on the right is the shorthand name that we use for every portal entrance or exit, the shorthand name that we use for every ball path entrance or exit, and these are color-coded for whether the portals are in only, in out, or out only, and this doesn't even include the scoops. We don't bother to talk about the scoops because we know we have those. And so I haven't bothered to do the math to describe how many possible paths and combinations are available, but a lot, right? And these are dynamically linked in software, so with consistent rules, right? Because if you could literally link any portal to any other portal, the player would be very confused. So there are static rules about how the language works. These are mock-ups of hub mode. For a long time, we were developing with virtual inserts just on top of this image to the left, just to get sort of basic mode logic working. and then we fast forward to these sort of different iterations, and as the CAD is coming together, sort of looking more like the game, in addition to having decorations for what the HUD would look like on the main screen. You'll notice it's very Final Resistance-y. If you played Final Resistance, those static inserts stayed. This is something we really wanted. We wanted to continue with this game. Here is a very early implementation of Hub, where Ian put this together, and we were just blown away. If you know Final Resistance, you probably might notice a couple other things are lingering around from that game as well. But I'll play it again just in case you didn't see it. Right? It's the inserts on the right ramp animating away when the right ramp lifts out of the way. Right? So it has that sort of dynamic. And that's not what it looks like today, right? There's just sort of a proof of concept. How badly does our frame rate dive when we start doing these 3D tricks? And the answer was not bad. Not that bad. It's much better now. But this was before a lot of optimization. And so if you're wondering, how does it work when you live in Massachusetts and the company is down in Texas? The answer is a lot of Google Meet and a lot of streaming videos that are like this, where what you're seeing here is the streaming rig over at Multimorphic. This is the top-down view. This is the playfield module view. And this is the backglass running a debug scene that Ian was instrumental in improving from what we've done in previous games, where we're actually able to see what the game logic thinks it's doing. So we can see a history of shot events, we can see the portal assignments in the top left, we can see the possible paths in portal assignments in all these places on the screen, and then we can actually see, because right when you're dealing with a whitewood, it could be the case that the software is wrong and the mech is working well. It could be the case that the software is right and the mech is binding for some reason. And so being able to see, well, no, the game thought it had asked for this path, but we're not getting it. We need to figure out why that ramp is binding. Or, okay, the game didn't ask for the right thing. That's why that shot wasn't available to you. Or, okay, we're seeing a lot of spurious activations of the switch. We need to figure out what's going on there. And so, yeah, it's nice because we primarily want the players to focus here, so that during development we can use that. These are some test chambers, sort of in evolution. This is the first version of the high-energy pellet test chamber that Ian had worked out, which was just dropped on top of the HUD mode, and is the concept for there are panels, and there is essentially a ball moving, and you hit the shots to rotate the panels. And then this was the first iteration of the test chamber. A lot of these were developed in, we had access to the 3D assets from Valve for the Portal games, and then we also used Hammer in their actual tools, and so we had a process by which some things were developed in Hammer directly and then exported as videos, whereas other things were developed in Hammer, which is the Valve engine to build test chambers and lots of things really, and then brought them into our environment, and then you can see what it looks like on the right, sort of more fully actualized. I'm going to try to speed these last couple slides because I think I'm going too long. And then this is what the first test chamber test chamber number 1, the big fling. On the left, you see it built in an official Valve tool, and on the right, here it is in Hammer. And I was wrong and fairly insistent that this should be top down. And here was Ian's video placating me, showing me how wrong I was. And that it's actually much better if it's first person, more like the game in this test chamber. And so the idea was that as you completed the shots, it would pan up and pan up and pan up. But no, then there's the other video, which I didn't show, which looks much better. But because this part has to be first person, you have to fall through the portal and big momentum down. And so it's sort of odd to switch at that last minute. But yeah. Okay. Next slide. And so I don't know if people have had a chance to play it. People have a chance to play it, or people? No. Okay. All right. I'm going to just show some quick videos just so you can see what it looks like. So this is what the Big Fling looks like today. This is Jerry and the official live stream, which was only like a week ago, where you can see he's making these shots, and then the camera moves to the next shot, and how easy it is to see. And the static inserts in these levels are actually on arms thematically that come out and hold the panels that have the inserts on them. Good job, Jerry. And I think he drains any minute now. But the point is, this is how this test chamber presents. This is test chamber 1. If you're playing, use the yellow buttons to reselect your chamber if you get back in line. Let's check out. So this is the very first. No, this is not the very first, but it's one of the very early versions of the discouragement beam, thermal discouragement beam chamber. And then what it looks like now is that you shoot this physical spinner on the left, and the beam rotates and sweeps through, and physically, right? It virtually impacts your physical elements. So your flippers lose their ability to hold briefly while they're sparking. Your slingshots go dead. Jerry's arm doesn't go in the way every time. That's just in this video. I'm sorry if you were hoping he would do that for you. That was a dumb joke, but I'm feeling rushed for time. So there it is. That's on me. Unsurprisingly, 60 slides might have been too many. Anyway, this is It Takes Two, which is a test chamber that's actually a multi-ball. And so the idea is you shoot the center shot, and then you collect a way to storage cube. You collect a companion cube, and one of the balls represents the companion cube, and the other ball represents you, and you shoot a shot to send the companion cube through a portal, and then you chase it through. And so at first you have 3 shots. You can take any one of those paths. And then when you get to the next room, you have 2 paths available. When you get to the last room, you only have 1 path available. So it sort of narrows in, and nothing bad would ever happen to that cube, of course, at the end of the chamber. So, and then here's Faith Blade Multi-Ball. And the thing that Faith Blade Multi-Ball has, which is a pretty nice feature, in which you have hurry-ups available to you during different times of it, where you can lock balls behind the cube, and while the balls are held, you get 2x jackpot, 3x jackpot. Try to collect it and finish it out. So there's a lot here for tournament players who want to chase scores, or just you want more things to work on. I haven't even talked about how the spinner rules work or how Ratman's Den works, but there's lots to discover and a lot to enjoy. Okay, what's left? What are you playing now? You're playing a game that does not have all of its callouts in it. I've got about 3,000 or so callouts from Mark Silk. I've got about 850 total callouts from Ellen that are, I shouldn't say callouts, I've got access to the recordings that Ellen did for Portal 2 as GLaDOS. There's about 850 of them. And I've got 3,000 that were custom recorded as Reggie by Mark Silk. And those need to get integrated into the game in a way that is both fun and compelling and instructive without being annoying and repetitive. We have much more narrative story to flesh out. Well, we don't have to flesh it out. To implement into the game, we know exactly what it is. 2 more test chambers, Ratman's Den, the wizard mode, stuff. But hopefully the game presents pretty completely now. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Questions?
One, and don't get to repeat questions.
Of course.
So you have the playfield extender, or
Yes.
whatever you're calling it, and that's game specific. Is there any sense of whether that's a per game design option, or you might eventually see, well, as a common pattern, we should have a generic extender? What do you think will happen with the extender?
So right now, the question was about the playfield extender, and right now this playfield extender is very much decorated for the Portal universe, right? It presents as a repulsion gel, and it presents as those things. There's no thought to being able to use that extension in Lexi Lightspeed, say, or Heist. Not only just because the decoration is different, the shot paths are different, right? So this extension is such that the shot geometry works well with the extension in place. And if you remove it, if you play without the extension, the shot geometry still works. You wouldn't want that same extender on there. So I think if we were to develop a generic extension, it would have to be, we haven't talked about it, because it would have to work for only certain modules that share common shot entrances. And so, yeah, I think they need to be separate. But I think you'll see more extensions available in the future, if that's the question.
Working with Valve, how much collaboration happened with Valve like that?
Yeah, so the question was, how was working with Valve? Scary and intimidating, but also super duper awesome. They were always nice. They always said nice things. They gave very critical feedback at times. They wanted to represent the universe as accurately as possible. So there were rules. There were rules that we had, and there were rules that we thought we were not breaking of their rules. And then they said, no, don't do that, right? Like panels in their universe are always presented in that white light. We're like, but it's pinball. We need color matching so people can figure out what to do. And illuminating around those panels in specific colors was ultimately okay, but it wasn't okay to illuminate those panels. And I thought that was right. It was very fair. But yeah, it's very scary to be on a call with Valve and having them assess it. But no, they were great. They offered to have their script writers take a look at the script when we submitted it. And I remember we had a very specific joke in there, and they were like, oh no, that's good. It seems like you guys get the humor of the universe. And we're like, that's rad. Like, how could you do better than that? Then you get that thumbs up. Thank you. Is that an okay answer?
Yeah, they provide a lot of the assets that are in there.
Oh yes. Oh, and they provided, it's awesome to get an email from anyone that ends in Valve software. And when that email has an attachment that is, a huge amount of 3D models, textures, sound assets, music. Yeah, no, we had it. It was great. Yeah.
I've actually been asked a little bit about the voice acting. Did you all get work directly with Ellen, or was that something you sent over and you kind of got things back?
Yeah, so we don't have new recordings from Ellen in the game. We licensed the right to use all of her recordings for Portal 2. So everything that she recorded for Portal 2. We have access to, and there's a lot. And then we debated about this a lot, right? And we wanted Reggie to be your friend who tells you you're doing a good job and tells you what to shoot, and never seemed quite right for GLaDOS to be telling you you're doing a good job. Here's what you should shoot. She should tell you that you're a bad person and you should feel bad about yourself. And Reggie needs to be the sort of uplifting character. And Mark has done an amazing job. But yeah, thank you. Yes, question.
So how many of you were pro fans before you got involved in this? How many of you had to sort of jump off the deep end and just were to figure it out?
Oh no, that's a great question. So I would consider myself a Portal superfan. Ian Harrower would consider himself a superfan, and I would consider him one as well. Steven Silver also. So we were the 3 creative directors on the game, but we were absolutely super fans. And everybody else who was working on the game was at least moderately aware of it. Scott was very excited when we found out we had a Scott Denisi, and he was excited to take a stab at it. And I think he's done something really cool with the music here, honestly, to sort of make it more uplifting. But yeah, no, there's a lot of Portal fandom. The nerddom runs strong in our group. So
One more question.
Sure.
I'm very new. I'm sorry, I've never heard of you. I have heard of some of your machines, so if I'm asking a dumb question, please forgive me.
No, you're fine.
But the 3D CAD program that you had displayed there,
Yeah.
showing the layout of your game, is that an in-house software or something that you're looking to release to the public so people can kind of begin to build their own designs that might fit well into your module, so that it becomes easier for people to do in-house homebrews?
Yeah, I understand the question. So the question was, is the 3D modeling stuff that I'm showing proprietary, or is it an off-the-shelf product? For building the playfield, for designing the playfield, that's a standard CAD program. I don't recall which ones TJ uses. For the actual simulation of the game and the integration and everything, we do that in Unity, built on top of a pretty robust framework that we built in-house, and we actually make available to any third-party developer. So they can download that SDK and they can start developing games. There are also all these blueprints are available. People want to make their own modules, and there's a lot of documentation on how you can go about doing that and writing software for it. And then, of course, we also have another layer internally, which is sort of the stuff I've built up over since Weird Al and Final Resistance, of things to make it a little bit more streamlined for us to build games, which at some point we'll port parts of it back and make them available to everyone.
Follow up on that? So
Yeah.
when you say third-party developer, are you talking about only people whose intent is to make a sellable module, or would it include homebrew?
Oh, it totally includes homebrew, right? So we have a lot of people who have P3s and they bought them because they just want to make a game. And, they start with a retheme of Heist or something like that. There's a cool game that was not on our radar and then just showed up on the Discord, which is this game called Young Martial Artist. And the developer just wanted to develop this game, wanted this game to exist, and released it totally for free, just so that anyone who's an owner can go to the store and download it and install it. And when you think about that, right, that's pretty wild thing to do, is to sort of enable all these people to make games on this platform and give everyone. I love the weird games. I make when I'm not working for Multimorphic, I make weird games, and I have a whole bunch of prototypes that aren't fun. But I just was like, this has to be fun. Nope. I released a game. But there's a lot of things where you're like, why doesn't a game of blank exist ported to it? It's like, that one's not fun. You can modify it, make it fun, but at least the way I tried it, it wasn't fun. And I have a game called Dungeon Door Defender, which like people either love or just like it's too weird for me, where it's like a tower defense game in pinball, right? Sort of these weird things are a unique possibility on the P3. And again, the nerddom runs strong in our group, so I think maybe that's part of the answer. But yeah, open for people to do stuff with. Cool.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.